I was wiping grease off my hands when I heard her say his name again. Tessa, are you serious? I turned from the kitchen sink, already feeling my jaw tighten. Drew? Again? She didn't flinch, just stood there with that fake casual lean against the counter, holding her mug like this with some Sunday morning catch-up. Like she wasn't about to ask me for another favor involving her loser ex. He's been trying to get his life back together, she said, soft like that made it easier to swallow. He just needs a chance. I tossed the rag on the counter. We've been through this. He's not reliable. I'm not giving him a job. It's not just a job, she said. It's a fresh start. There it was. The pitch. Quick note. Before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. She stepped closer, lowering her voice like we were plotting some secret mission. He's got this idea. He wants to work with reclaimed wood. Make high-end stuff. He just needs something stable to get started. You mean a paycheck? I said. From me. From the company, she corrected, as if that made it different. Come on. He could be a foreman. He's done job sites before. I snorted. You want me to hand him a leadership position in my family's company? He couldn't even finish building a chicken coop for his aunt without skipping town. Tessa's face hardened. If you really cared about me, she said, locking eyes, you'd bring him on as a foreman. I laughed. I couldn't help it. That line was so ridiculous it deserved a laugh. But she didn't smile. She wasn't playing. You're actually serious, I said. She nodded. Yes, he's changed. I held up a hand. Fine. He wants a job? He comes in for an actual interview. We go through the real process. Experience check, references, qualifications. Same as anyone else. She hesitated, just long enough to confirm what I already knew. Then she smiled. Deal. I dried my hands, walked past her, and grabbed my phone from the table. Set it up, I said. Let's see what he's got. She texted Drew right there at the table, fingers flying like this was urgent business. I watched her out of the corner of my eye while scrolling through site photos for our framing crew. She acted like this was nothing, like dragging her ex into my work life wasn't crossing every damn line. Tessa and I had been together almost 4 years. We met through a mutual friend in Nashville, some housewarming party where she got too drunk to drive, and I ended up taking her home. She laughed the whole way, boots on my dash, like she'd known me forever. I didn't know then that that ride would turn into years of sharing bills, routines, plans. We moved in together 2 years back, into the house I gutted and rebuilt myself on the east side. I was proud of that place. Everything in it, from the custom kitchen to the hardwood floors, was built with my hands. She loved to tell people that. He remodeled the whole thing, she'd say, like I was some HGTV dream husband, like we were building something real. We talked about buying land someday, maybe outside Franklin, build from scratch, raise chickens, put in a shop out back. I thought we were aligned. She'd bring up rings every now and then. Not pushy, just little comments like, if we ever get married, or when I walk down the aisle. The usual hints. I didn't mind. I figured we were heading that way. I worked my ass off to earn my spot at my uncle's firm. Started as a laborer out of high school, shoveling gravel, hauling drywall, sweating through my boots in July. I didn't get any handouts, just the chance to prove myself. 10 years later, I was running entire crews as project manager. Scheduling, inspections, budget tracking. I had it all dialed in. Tessa was in sales. Sharp as hell. She could talk a brick wall into buying shutters. She bounced between home decor and tech startups, always chasing the next better gig. I respected that. Hustle recognizes hustle. But when it came to Drew, she lost her damn mind. He was her ex from college. The what-if guy. Artsy, tall, wore a beanie in summer, called himself a creative contractor, which was code for no stable job, no completed projects, no real skills. He'd start some reclaimed wood table, take a deposit, then ghost when things got complicated. One time he built 2 bar stools, posted them online as a collection, and then never made another thing again. She swore he had talent. He just needs the right structure. Or, he's not like you. He's wired differently. She always tried to explain him away like he was some misunderstood genius. What I saw was a grown man who couldn't finish what he started. Over the years, I'd catch little things. Once, she took $100 out of our joint account by mistake. Turned out it went to cover Drew's cell bill. Another time, she let him borrow her old laptop after his got stolen. I found out she'd helped him with rent when he hit a dry patch. She'd spin it like it was no big deal, like she was just being a decent person. I didn't blow up about it. I should have, but I told myself it wasn't worth the fight. I trusted her, mostly. Still, it ate at me. Every time she said, he's not like that anymore. I'd remember the time he left a plumbing job half done and blamed the client for being too corporate. Or when he borrowed a circular saw from one of our guys and never gave it back. And now she wanted to bring him into my business? No chance in hell. I looked up from my phone and caught her watching me, her phone still in hand. What? I asked. He said he's free next Tuesday, she said. Wants to know what time. 10 a.m. sharp? I told her. Tell him to come ready. This is a professional meeting, not a damn podcast pitch. She nodded and turned away, already texting him again. I pulled out my notebook and jotted the time down, flipping the page to start a new prep list. This was going to be one hell of a meeting. I didn't even finish the prep list before she was back at the table, smiling like she'd just scored us box seats somewhere. He's really excited, she said, sitting down across from me. He's got this whole concept ready. High-end reclaimed wood pieces, super sustainable, super unique. I stared at her. Concept, yeah, it's boutique furniture, tables, benches, live-edge stuff, all custom. And he's going to do this out of what? His Prius? She rolled her eyes. He wants to set up a proper workshop, somewhere steady. That's where you come in. I leaned back in my chair. So now I'm not just hiring him. I'm sponsoring his startup. Tessa leaned forward, voice soft. He just needs a space and a little support. You can offer him that. Unreal. This woman, who'd seen me drag roof trusses solo at 6 in the morning, really thought I was going to hand my company's resources over to a guy who couldn't even keep a part-time job at a co-op hardware store. What does he actually have? I asked. Resume? Portfolio? Tools? He's got a strong vision, she said, and a really solid online following. Instagram doesn't cut wood, I snapped. She didn't back down. He has mood boards, sketches, a real aesthetic. Jesus. So, pictures of furniture other people made? Tessa crossed her arms. You don't have to mock him. I stood up and walked to the sink, rinsing out my coffee mug just to cool off. She didn't get it. This wasn't about jealousy or pride. This was about watching her throw herself into a fantasy and expecting me to bankroll the delusion. But I played it cool. All right, I said over my shoulder. He comes in for a proper meeting. We go over his plan and qualifications. If he wants a shot, he earns it. She paused for a second too long. Then her whole face lit up. I knew you'd come around. I gave her a half smile and nodded like I was just now seeing the light. But in my head, things had already shifted. He wanted to play contractor? Fine. I'd treat him like one. I spent the next 2 days pulling files. I went through our FOREMAN onboarding checklist, licensing, work history, references, OSHA certs. Then I called Linda from HR and told her I needed her to sit in. Not because I needed help asking questions, but because I needed a witness. Then I printed out the paperwork. Clean, professional. I left a blank for the shop address he hadn't even found yet. Another blank for tools owned. Another for vendors and materials. I ran a check on his name through our vendor account system. No hits. Not surprising. The guy didn't exist in the real trades. Later that night, Tessa walked into the living room holding her laptop. He mocked up a few sample designs, she said, showing me his screen. Look at this one. He's calling it Urban Pioneer. I looked. It was a butcher block table with black pipe legs. Nothing special. Something you could find at HomeGoods for a third the price. He's got 5 pieces planned for the first drop, she said. Drop? I asked. Is he building furniture or launching a rap album? She scowled. You're being a dick. I shrugged. I'm being real. She closed the laptop. I'm just trying to help someone do something meaningful. I didn't say what I was thinking. That helping was fine, but she was throwing gas on a fire that had already burned through every second chance. Instead, I just nodded and told her, we'll see how serious he is at the meeting. She smiled again. That looked like she'd finally broken through. I waited until she went to bed. Then I stayed up 2 more hours cross-referencing our finances and drafting a separate list, one she'd never see. The second she started snoring, I was back on my laptop, spreadsheets open, browser tabs lined up like ammo. I'd always handled most of our shared finances. Autopay, bill splitting, tracking monthly expenses. She said she hated math. Fine. I kept the system clean and simple. But now, I went back 2 years and started dragging every single transaction into a folder labeled Tessa. And the numbers, they didn't lie. Gas bills that doubled when Drew's truck broke down? There. Grocery runs that somehow cost $300 for 2 people? There. Rent advances when he was supposedly couch surfing between apartments? Traced. I pulled up our Venmo history. She'd marked half the transfers as utilities or miscellaneous. But when I matched them to her text, it all clicked. One message to me. His engine locked up, just helping him tow it. That same week, $400 withdrawn from our account in 2 pulls. She'd told me those were emergencies. Temporary. I'll pay you back once my commission hits, she said. It's just until next week, she said. Always next week. I checked the totals. In just under 2 years, I'd covered $18,000 for $100 of her personal expenses, not including what she charged to our joint card, just raw transfers and cash withdrawals from my income. Most of it tied to Drew's screw-ups. Utilities, car insurance, vet bill, for his dog, twice. She wasn't just supporting him. She was bleeding me out to do it. I went deeper, screenshotted every transaction, every matching text, color-coded categories, cross-checked timestamps. I built out a full breakdown with receipts, notes, and totals. It wasn't petty. It was prep. This wasn't just a bad decision anymore. This was deception. By the third hour, I had a clean financial trail from my account to Drew's life. I sent it all to my work email, then drafted a message to my uncle's lawyer, Neil. Subject line: need 2 documents drafted ASAP. I laid it out simply. First, I wanted a repayment agreement. No threats, just a binding legal doc that made it clear what she owed and how she'd pay it back, interest-free, on a schedule. Second, I needed an official release removing her from any shared property or financial obligation. House, utilities, emergency savings, all of it. I didn't care how awkward it looked. I wanted her name off everything. Neil called me before 8 the next morning. Rough night, he asked. You could say that. Everything you sent me is tight, he said. I can prep both docs today, get a notary lined up. Want me there when you present it? No, I'll handle that. Smart to do it before anything else gets tied up, he said. You planning to take it to court? Only if she fights. He paused. You sure you want to go through with this? She made the choice. I'm just finally documenting it. We ended the call. I looked around my kitchen, our kitchen, the place I built from the studs up. She'd picked the backsplash. I'd laid every tile. Her coffee mug sat in the sink with lipstick still on the rim. I grabbed it, rinsed it clean, and dropped it in the cabinet. Then I opened my calendar and locked in the meeting time. 10 a.m., Tuesday. That would be the last time either of them tried to run a game on me. Tuesday morning, 10 sharp, I stood in the company conference room sipping burnt office coffee, waiting for the show to start. Linda was already at the table, flipping through a blank notepad. I'd briefed her the day before, every detail. She didn't say much, just nodded, and asked me to bring extra copies. Right at 10:02, they walked in. Drew wore a stiff button-up with a logo from some custom wood brand I'd never heard of. Tag was still poking out the collar. Tessa looked like she'd just walked off a damn commercial. Tight dress, perfect hair, fake confidence beaming from her face. Morning, Drew said, stepping forward with a stupid grin. Thanks for this opportunity, really. Means a lot. I shook his hand. Weak grip, sweaty palm. Take a seat. Tessa sat beside him, still clinging to his arm, like she was trying to anchor him in place. Linda closed her notepad and smiled politely. Let's get started. Drew launched straight into it. No resume, no documents, just energy. So the vision is all about sustainability, right? Like turning scrap into statement pieces. Think modern rustic, but with this elevated edge, like intentional imperfections. He kept going. Buzzwords on buzzwords. Brand identity, eco-conscious, upcycled legacy, whatever the hell that meant. I didn't say a word. Just let him dig. Linda finally raised a hand. Drew, she said calmly, before we get too far into the hiring discussion, there's something else we need to address first. He blinked. Oh, okay. Tessa shifted in her seat, smile flickering. There's been an internal financial review, Linda continued, and some discrepancies involving shared company funds and personal withdrawals. Before we can proceed with any employment consideration, this has to be resolved. Drew's eyebrows shot up. Wait, what? Tessa froze completely. Her hand slipped off his arm. Linda looked at me. I stood up, walked to the cabinet behind me, and pulled out the folder. I didn't hand it over just yet. Drew turned to Tessa. What the hell is this? She said nothing. I dropped the folder onto the table. Let's clear things up. I slid the folder across the table, slow and deliberate. Neither of them reached for it at first. Go ahead, I said. Take a look. Tessa opened it, fingers shaking just enough to notice. She flipped through the pages, color-coded spreadsheets, transaction breakdowns, screenshots of Venmo payments, and text, all lined up, month by month. Drew leaned in beside her, scanning the top sheet. His face twisted. What is this? He muttered. It's a full financial breakdown of the last 2 years, I said. Everything tied to our joint account. Expenses, withdrawals, transfers. Tessa kept flipping. Her eyes didn't move fast enough to keep up. I could tell when she hit the page labeled Linked Support to Drew, because her lips parted and her whole body pulled back like someone had slapped her. You've been spying on us? Drew snapped, grabbing the folder and yanking it closer. I didn't respond, just waited. What the hell, man? He barked. This is crazy. You've been tracking her like she's your employee? I finally looked at him. This is me doing what I always do, running the numbers, making sure everything adds up. Tessa's voice was barely there. You went through our messages? No, I said. Yours to me. Every excuse. Every temporary loan. Every little story about his car breaking down, or his rent being late, or his business expenses. I didn't need to hack anything. You told me everything. You just didn't think I was listening. Drew pushed the folder back like it burned. This is bulls ****. None of this proves anything. $18,000 for $100, I said flatly. That's what it adds up to. From my income to your failures. Tessa still hadn't said a word. Her eyes were glassy, locked on the repayment agreement stapled to the back. Linda reached for the folder and flipped it open, sliding the agreement toward the center of the table. Legally binding, she said, prepared by a licensed attorney. Includes a detailed schedule for repayment and a separate agreement releasing you from all shared assets and expenses. Tessa finally spoke. You're kicking me out. I met her eyes. No, I'm cutting you off. She blinked hard. You can't just. This is our house. No, I said. It's my house. I built it. I paid for it. Your name was never on the deed. Drew let out a bitter laugh. You really planned this whole thing, huh? You set us up. I turned to him. You walked into a job interview unprepared and entitled. I treated you like any other applicant until it turned out you were bleeding me dry behind the scenes. You think this makes you smart? He said. You're pathetic. Linda leaned forward. You can call him names, or you can sign the documents and move on. But this is happening either way. Tessa looked at her. So this is legal? Completely, Linda said. And notarized. Once signed, the repayment plan goes into effect immediately. If not, we proceed with civil recovery. Tessa's hands curled into fists on the table. This wasn't about a job, she whispered. You just wanted to humiliate us. No, I said. I wanted to be sure. Before I let someone like you near anything else I care about. Drew shoved his chair back and stood. We're not signing anything. Linda stayed calm. You're free to refuse. But understand, this is the soft option. Tessa stayed seated, eyes locked on the agreement. I didn't say another word. Let her do the math. Drew was the first to move. He shoved the folder off the table, hard enough that the papers scattered across the floor. F***K this, he snapped, pointing at me. You're a manipulative little coward. Tessa stood slowly. Her voice cracked. You blindsided me. You didn't even talk to me first. I gave you a chance, I said. You wanted to make it about business, so I did. You're disgusting, she spat. You did this just to make us look stupid. No, I said. You did that part on your own. She let out this half laugh, half sob, and stormed out after Drew, slamming the glass door behind her. The receptionist flinched. Linda just sat there, calm as ever, gathering the loose papers back into the folder. I've seen worse, she said. Barely. I nodded and picked up the last sheet from the floor. It's not over yet. It wasn't. The next morning, I had 3 missed calls from Tessa and 1 from an unknown number. By noon, I'd gotten a 6-paragraph text from her that started with, I don't even know who you are anymore, and ended with you'll regret this. Drew left a voicemail that same night. You think this scares me? You think we don't have proof of what you did? We could sue your ass, man. I didn't respond to any of it. Neil, my uncle's lawyer, handled the follow-ups. He sent everything through proper channels, stuck to the facts, and didn't blink when the threats rolled in. I got screenshots from him every day. First came the emotional blackmail. You broke my trust. I can't believe I loved you. This is how you repay 4 years. Then came the threats. I'm not signing S***T. You're gonna pay for this. Drew's talking to a lawyer. Then nothing. 5 days of silence. On the 6th morning, a courier dropped a padded envelope on my porch. Inside were the signed documents. Both of them. Clean signatures. Notarized. No note. That night, Tessa came home to pack. She didn't speak. She walked through the house like she was in someone else's life, which, at that point, she was. Took her clothes, her books, a few mugs she liked, left her winter coat, and the ring binder with our land listings in it. The next morning, I changed the locks. She texted me later, said she wanted to talk like adults. I told her any future contact needed to go through Neil. She didn't like that. An hour later, she sent another message. You owe me for what I put into that house. I have a right to something. I forwarded it to Neil. He called her bluff in one email. Proof of ownership, timeline of title, receipts for every major improvement. The place was mine before she ever moved in. Her name wasn't on a single page. She didn't respond again. I sat on the porch that night, cracked a beer, and listened to the quiet. No calls, no guilt, no Drew, no drama, just peace. By the end of the month, her credit tanked. The repayment plan got court-enforced when she tried to delay the first payment. Neil filed the paperwork. The judge didn't even blink. She was on the hook. Monthly installments. No wiggle room. No excuses. Her perfect little, I'm just between commissions, image didn't hold up in court. I didn't celebrate. I just watched the emails come in. Quiet confirmations that, for once, I wasn't the one footing the bill for someone else's chaos. Drew disappeared not long after. No goodbye. No big fight. Just gone. I heard from a friend of a friend, he blocked her on everything. Apparently, she called him 23 times in one day. He never picked up. No more rides. No more free dinners. No more second chances. That boutique reclaimed wood brand? Total joke. Turned out the whole operation was 2 flea market end tables, some thrifted chairs, and a Pinterest mood board full of furniture he didn't make. They had no business license, no shop, not even a website, just a shared Instagram that hadn't been updated since the interview. She moved in with her sister in Bellevue. I heard they argued a lot. Her sister apparently told someone at a barbecue. I love her, but she keeps expecting someone else to fix her messes. Sounded familiar. Drew's trying to launch some kind of garage workshop now. His cousin's place in Antioch. I saw a blurry photo on a story someone tagged. Just a pile of rotting pallet wood and a folding table. He was drinking a tall boy at noon and talking to the camera like he was filming an HBO docuseries. Good luck with that. People asked what happened between us. I kept it simple. We had different definitions of partnership, I said. Mine didn't include three-way finance. Nobody argued. For the first time in years, I wasn't getting pulled into anyone else's fantasy. No more mystery expenses. No more cleaning up behind a guy who couldn't hold down a shift job. No more late-night emergencies that smelled a lot like recklessness. I'd always thought being supportive meant saying yes. Turns out, real support sometimes means saying, "You're on your own," and meaning it. I paid off the last of the joint card, cleared her name off the utilities, and reset every password in the house. Then I took a sledgehammer to the half-finished backyard deck Drew had once said he'd help me with months ago, one swing at a time. I didn't do it to be cruel. I wasn't trying to destroy her, or make a point, or win some breakup war. I just finally acted like the man I should have been from the start. Decisive, clear, done with the bleeding. Tessa thought she was asking me for a favor. What she was really asking was, can you keep this fantasy alive for me, just a little longer? She didn't want Drew to succeed. She wanted the story to work. That if she loved him hard enough, supported him long enough, paid his tabs, and defended his failures, eventually he'd become the man she imagined. But that's not how this world works. People like Drew don't go away unless you stop giving them a place to land. You have to take the net out from under them and let them hit the ground hard. And people like Tessa don't change unless they're forced to sit in the wreckage and realize they built it themselves. She wanted me to give her ex a job. I gave her an invoice. Not to punish her, to wake her up. Every dollar she pulled, every excuse she handed me, that had weight, that had cost. She thought love was the cover for it all. That if you were close enough, trusted enough, needed enough, the math didn't count. But it always counts. She used to say love was about support. We're a team, she'd tell me. You have my back, I have yours. But support without limits turns into sacrifice. And I was done handing over my time, money, and peace just to keep someone else's dream alive while mine sat on the shelf. I loved her. I still believe that. But love isn't blind, and it sure as hell isn't bottomless. I loved her enough to give her chances. I just didn't love her enough to keep paying for her mistakes. I tossed the last chunk of broken decking into the truck bed and slammed the tailgate shut. No more favors. No more cleanups. No more secondhand dreams. Just solid ground beneath my feet. Give me a short summarize of this story using most popular keywords in Reddit stories topic, without spoilers and without names. Also ADD-relevant keywords separated by commas for video search. Suggest the most relevant Reddit sections for a personal story involving family betrayal, false accusations, rebuilding life, and emotional revenge, separated by commas. Exclude or slash from the names.